Alright guys, it's now the LR Super Saiyan Goku and Vegeta's turn. Their EZA looks pretty good. I mean, considering when they first come out, they weren't great at all. I'm expecting a lot here. I'm not gonna lie. They are also rainbowed. They are level 10 links. Another unit where their hidden potential system was already done way before their EZA details dropped. So probably needs a little bit of a rework, but we move. We do have skill orbs on them to kind of help them out a little bit more in 2026. They are already starting with an 887k attack stat and 578k defense, which is a very, very good start. They are starting with key plus 5, 250% attack and defense with 30% damage reduction. They will receive an additional key plus 1 per type keys for obtained and launch an additional attack that does have a 70% chance to become a super attack. And then because we are on our entry turn, for 4 turns after that, we will have 150 attack and defense, hence the inflated stats, guaranteed additional super, 40% damage reduction, and then also 200% defense and an extra 20% damage reduction before attacking. So, and you probably won't be able to get away with this in every event, but maybe some, especially early on, they have some slop on capabilities. So in total right now, we have 90% damage reduction with over 500k defense. So we're going to see how they line up in slot 1. We're going to see how they do in slot 1 with 90% damage reduction. So turn 1, what are we saying? And then because we did pick up 18 key, double digits on normals, kind of to be expected. What are we taking on super attack? Bear in mind, they do have the type advantage and Diamond Goku doesn't have his full buff. Double digits, kind of expected it. 31.6 mil to start with. And because we are attacking with 18 or more key, we do get an extra 150 attack and defense with a 50% chance to crit as well. Of course, good damage because of the crit. Additional normal, we don't want to be seeing those. Additional super, cool. 20 mil on the 12 key. So the 18 key is doing 50% attack and defense for the turn, lowering attack and defense by 30% on both attack and defense to the enemy. 12 key is 50% attack raise and a 30% defense raise for the turn. So not as big of attack raise or even defense raise as Cooler with the 100%. Just have the 50 on these two, which is still okay. Still okay. And for a turn 1 appearance, not bad. Not bad at all. I mean, it's solid. Then on the character's next attack in turn after performing 3 or more super attacks, which, funny enough, they do actually have the capability of doing that all on turn 1. If that 50% chance you have built in pops, then you have your hidden potential system, whether that's dupes or skill orbs or both, you could actually possibly super attack 3 times already on turn 1 to get that part of their passive done. Unfortunately, we didn't. So we're going to have to wait an extra turn, but it is possible. And then receiving 5 more attacks in battle, which again is also possible in turn 1, depending on where all the attack placements are. It's all possible on turn 1, basically based on a lot of RNG. Or, which we do have, or when 3 or more movie heroes category allies are on the team, starting from turn 5, if it takes a little bit longer, you will receive the morale boost and they will get their buff. So, as I said, if the RNG is in your favor, which it's quite a bit of RNG to rely on, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie and say, oh, you know, that could happen really easily. I mean, it can, but there's a lot of RNG attached to it. You could already have your morale boost ready to go pretty much on their next appearance, turn 3, or if they're on the second rotation, turn 4. Which is actually really, really good because it gets them going really quickly. Or, if you don't have him on a team full of 3 or more movie heroes category characters, turn 5 is definitely not bad. Definitely not bad at all as the kind of either or option they have to trigger their morale boost. Or if you just get poor RNG and don't manage to get it set up quick enough. But unfortunately, we weren't meant to be. Like, we weren't the lucky ones for this time around. But for the fact that, as I said, you can get it off that early, it's a nice thing to have. It's a very, very nice thing to have. But at the moment, their damage is starting off okay. I'm expecting a lot more, especially once we do get the morale boost. But at the moment, 30 mil is a little bit low. But again, this is the precursor. This isn't even them at their best. You know, the same with like Metal Cooler pre-revival. I'll take between 30 and 50 mil. I mean, 50 mil definitely, but I'll take between 30 and 50 mil. Like, it works. You know, especially the 50 mil side of things, very, very solid. So once their morale boost kicks in, once we trigger that and get that and we get the costume change, we free the nip, I'm expecting some big things. I'm expecting some big damage from this Goku and Vegeta. But one thing I will say immediately is pre-morale boost, they're a lot better defensively. Even though that was the whole gimmick, even though that was the whole structure of the unit when they first dropped, you know, pre-morale boost meant to be a little bit better defensively. After the morale boost, you know, they're meant to be a lot better offensively. Even though that was the case when they first released, it just wasn't that great. They were a tad bit weak. They were a little bit vulnerable. Not gonna lie. Also, great rotation you can set up. Them and Birdku. Just saying. And you know what? Why we got that 4 turns extra 20% damage reduction, I'm going to make the most of it and have them in slot 1. Why not? And also, we can guarantee get all the attacks we want to get because there are plenty in slot 1. Again, if we had the same kind of scenario set up with the attack placements in turn 1, we could have already had the morale boost ready to go, triggered, and we would have been set up already by now. But as I said, you do kind of have to rely on a little bit of RNG for that. But as I was saying, while the kind of setup is basically the same, big fan of all the extra damage reduction they get pre-morale boost. You know, if they're not going to be doing high numbers, you know, if they're not going to be doing over 50-60 million pre-morale boost, give them a ton of damage reduction and defensive capabilities, which they've definitely got. Defense isn't the highest, I'm not going to lie. But, you know, having 90% damage reduction in slot 1, the majority of events, they should be okay. And we are getting no type of luck when it comes to additional supers. If I would want to spend the stones, if I was an absolute whale in this game, I'd definitely give them a hell of a lot more dodge. Definitely a lot more dodge. But considering the hidden potential system was already done, we kind of got to settle for what I've got and the minimum amount of like 9 dodge that I've got on them because of skill orbs. That said, I'm definitely liking their pre-morale setup a lot better compared when they first released. As I said, I think it will only go so far, though. I think the majority of enemies in the game early on within those 4 turns, while you're first setting up, while you're getting rotations in order, while you're building units up, I feel like it would do pretty well. However, there's probably a handful of enemies in the game, probably like Bio Broly, etc., who will absolutely clock them and rock their shit. Don't get it twisted. That 90% damage reduction a couple years ago, that would have been perfect. Now, unless you have the defense to go with it, it's only taken you so far. But again, it's still good very early doors while you're setting up rotations, while you're building up, while you're even waiting for Goku and Vegeta's own morale boost to kind of make them stronger. I do like their pre-morale boost kit a lot better now compared to when they first released. So we've got the morale boost. The nip is out. We're at a 710k attack stat. We've lost some defense. We're down to 3466. Now we'll start with key plus 5, 300% attack and defense. We've now got 70% damage reduction, just base flat out damage reduction, which is great. But we do lose that slot 1 capability, obviously, with the lack of defense and the extra damage reduction in slot 1. And we now do pick up an extra key plus 2 per type keys for obtained. And that additional super is now guaranteed, which is good. For 1 turn as well, we do actually have the 20% damage reduction, but it's only for 1 turn that we have the extra 20% from entry. So once this turn is done after the morale boost activates, it's permanently gone. So depending on what event you're in, how hard they're hitting, but again, don't forget they have lost some defense. You could try and put them in slot 1, you could have them in slot 2, you could put them in slot 3, or we could die.
Guess we've got no choice but to try.
Curse it, I can't feel my legs.
Vegeta, can you still fight?
What kind of question is that? Damn you!
Okay, let's try that again. Hopefully we don't die this time. We shouldn't do. We've got the revival ready to go. We've also got the morale boost. But if we get the revival, we're not going to see much. But they are starting with, as I said, the key plus 5, 300% attack and defense. We've got that 70% damage reduction permanently. The additional super becomes permanent as well. And we're getting an extra key plus 1 per type keys for obtained to make it key plus 2 per type keys for obtained. We do have that 20% damage reduction for 1 turn from entry. So again, depending on what event you're in, who you're facing, maybe slide them in slot 1 for 1 turn, then move them into slot 2, slot 3. But, you know, post-super, they're going to be even more beefed up. 58.1 mil is a pretty solid point to be at. They are greatly raising attack and defense by 50% on super attack. And then on 12 key, it's still 50% attack raise and 30% defense for 1 turn. There's the guaranteed additional super. So once you hit the morale boost, on average, depending on RNG, you are going to be doing more guaranteed damage, which is good. And then because we did get 18 or more ki, we did have an extra 150 attack. So all in all, if you put all of them together, you're looking at like, what, 80, maybe just over 90 million on the first two. And then just over 100 mil altogether with all 3 super attacks done. Which is, all in all, pretty good. Especially if you're critting along the way as well. Some pretty good total damage without doing like a big explosive number off the initial 18 ki. Then when we receive an attack with an 18 or more ki, we do get an extra 150 defense, which is quite handy considering how much defense at the start of the turn we've lost. Then when activating the active skill, when attacking with 24 ki, which unfortunately we did miss out on, they do have 300% attack and 150 defense with a guaranteed crit. So that active skill rotation really going to pop off because you're going to guarantee crit and get all that extra attack and the active skill buff as well. And then there's also an additional attack that also has a 70% chance to become a super attack as well. So again, active skill turn especially, but if you're hitting 24 keys somewhat consistently or when it does pop up, you're doing a good 3, 4, maybe even 5 super attacks in total. You got a decent amount of crit. I say decent amount of crit. You got guaranteed crit there. You know, all in all, the amount of damage, they're going to be doing a lot. Possibly even more if the guaranteed crit, or not if the guaranteed crit, but with the guaranteed crit popping off as well. And then starting from the next attacking turn, they will gain 500% attack temporarily if you're only facing one enemy, which is pretty decent. It's a nice thing to have. I'm going to pop this because obviously we don't really care about this rotation. And I don't really, if I'm honest, feel like sitting through a orange Piccolo giant form. I'm not going to lie to you, considering they can last about 2-3 turns. Also, let me pop that off. So when we do use their active skill, it's ready. So the amount of damage they're doing all in all, as I said, while it may not consistently be like a big 80, 100 mil, you know, you're looking at like over 50, then you get like a 30, or maybe like just shy of 30, but 30, over 30, 30 again. We've also said 50% chance to crit minimum up to guaranteed crit. It's a good amount of total damage with a decent amount of damage reduction to go with it. But next time we're going to have our active skill ready to go, because it can be activated when facing only one enemy, but it starts from the next attacking turn, not as soon as they appear. So we did have to wait to use it, which is fine. But then we're also going to get that extra 500% attack temporarily as well. So you can combine their active skill turn with that on their next attacking turn and go for broke and do even more damage, because then you've got the extra 500% attack on your active skill. You gain the extra 300% attack and 150 defense for using the active skill or hitting 24 key. But in this situation, I was going to say scenario and situation together. This situation or scenario, then you've got the guaranteed crit, which means that 500% is being put to work along with a guaranteed crit on your active skill. And then you've got the 70% chance of additional super on top of the guaranteed additional super they've already got. The base super you're going to do and any additional you're going to get from the hidden potential system. All in all, it's going to be a good turn to basically cash in on all that possible damage that this Goku and Vegeta can do. But one thing to remember, they have lost that 20% damage reduction for one turn because it was literally purely for one turn on an entry. So now we're just down to the base 70% that they do have anyway, which, as I said, is still pretty good. But this is where I'm intrigued. This is where I'm very intrigued. So we've got the extra 500% attack, or should. Let me pop this active skill, and we're going to have guaranteed crit on this. We're going to get a ton of extra attack. Let's see how much damage this is doing.
The odds are against us. Every breath in my body will be spent trying.
That's the last time you will underestimate a Saiyan.
Now that's a lot of damage. A lot of damage. That is big boy damage right there. I mean, why not just pop everyone else's? But that is a lot. That is a lot of damage. Damn. And don't forget, we still have the remainder of the rotation to go. We still have a super attack, a guaranteed additional, a 70% chance, and the potential hidden potential system popping off as well. With all guaranteed crit, don't forget. So their active skill rotation pops off. Because as I said, you have got guaranteed damage with that guaranteed crit. The 500% attack, the extra 300% for using your active skill hitting 24 key. They are going to be doing a ton of damage. Like, we are on a layup. We have just put a through ball in. Any sports reference you can think of, layup, through ball. We have set up for an open net. A free bucket to just do damage. Just do damage. So they're on a 4.48 milli attack stat now, 994k in terms of defense. I'm going to put them in slot 1 because that first attack in slot 1 is actually gone. Do you know what's funny as well? We're also going to get 24 key, which is hilarious because we don't need it because of the active skill. But that's also handy because they are getting a key +2. If you're linked to, say, a bird coup, getting that 24 key will happen a little bit more consistently than probably you think. Because then you're always going to be getting that 300% attack consistently and the 150 defense. 66 mil, by the way, with guaranteed crit. And again, getting that guaranteed crit consistently and the opportunity to get that 70% chance on an additional super. So it means you're doing a lot of damage again, more often than not. So again, that's over 60 mil guaranteed crit. That's over 40 mil guaranteed crit. So that's already like over 100 mil done on their super attacks with guaranteed crit. There's another one there, so you're looking at probably like 150 at this point. All again with guaranteed crit, which means noteworthy damage actually done to enemy health. And then we've managed to get another one there as well, which is over another 48 mil. So basically, Near and I, 200 mil combined total on attack stat, all with guaranteed crit. And then because it's post super attack, we're kind of chilling. This is why I wanted to put them in slot 1 because of the super attack. How much do we tank that for? Because we got all of our super attacks with 70% damage reduction. Double digits. And that is with SSJ Daima Goku having his extra attack bar. Of course, they do have type advantage, but I mean, that was what? 150% defense raise. And then 3 30% defense raises. Along with the extra 150 for having an 18 key. And the 150 for having an active skill and 24 key. So, I mean, it's a lot of damage. It is a lot of damage. Although, that 500% is gone. That 500% is gone. Although, it didn't feel like we had it. I kind of feel like if we're doing... Maybe it actually just was there, but I don't know. 60 mil kind of feels a little bit low to have an extra 500% attack on top of everything else we had. But maybe we did have it. Maybe my maths is a little bit off. Or maybe we had it on their first appearance, which, again, I don't feel like we did because that just felt far too low. But, I mean, either way, it's still good damage nonetheless. Whether or not that was actually the 500% attack or not, either way, the amount of damage they do because all the possible additional supers, especially with even 50% chance to crit, but obviously on active skill turn and 24 key, with the guaranteed crit, you're doing a lot of damage. What I will say is, they've done a good job. They've done a very, very good job at actually making these guys relevant and usable this time around. I mean, you kind of hope that on a recent EZA. But compared to when they first released, where they were kind of iffy, and they'd only just come out, now they actually have a place. You can use them on movie heroes. You can use them on Beast's full lead. To be fair, they don't have that many categories, but you can actually make some use out of them. And they're actually a good addition to a category, or at least Beast Gohan's full lead, which wasn't that great, which is a good thing. Run them with Bird Coup. You've got slot 1, slot 2 options between the pair of them. You can alternate between, depending on who you're facing and then where you are during the actual fight. They do good amounts of damage, especially that setup, their active skill turn. You could just do so much damage, especially with the guaranteed crit as well, and the active itself. They're a lot better defensively, especially pre-morale boost. I think they're very, very good. Of course, the one thing, the small asterisks, if those additional supers don't pop, maybe you could see them a little bit vulnerable. But they are a lot better this time around and actually have a lifespan in them compared to when they first came out. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care, have a great day, and post.